Yo, what's good guys? This is Chris from WearTesters.com. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review on these potential bad boys right here. This is the Li-Ning Speed VI Premium, but don't worry, there's also a non-premium version that should be a little bit cheaper. I'm actually excited to not only talk about these, but play in them in the future as well, because I have not played in a non-Way of Wade Li-Ning in quite a while. The last one that I tried was the, how do you say it again? The Yu Shui? Is that what it was? I'm not even going there. Yeah, she said it wrong. I said it right apparently the first time, and then she corrected me and it was wrong. Said everybody in the comment section, but pretty sure it was like the Yu Shui 12 or something like that. I liked everything about those. I was really excited about those, but the traction for me was horrible. So I just was like, I'm done playing in these. They never got a performance review because of that, mostly because I didn't put enough time into the testing and stuff, because the traction was just awful, at least in the pair that I played in. These guys though, I'm just excited because that was the last experience that I had from a Li-Ning product, and I'm excited to try something a little bit different. So like I was saying earlier, there are two versions. This is the Speed 6 Premium, and then this guy right here is just the Speed 6. They are very similar, but also very different at the same time. Something that I think is quite interesting. There's things on both that I really like that the other doesn't have. Again, I think that that's very interesting. So I think that this is not gonna be one of those shoes where it's like, yeah, clearly this is a takedown, because I think clearly this has some attributes to it that are things that I personally just really like in shoes, whereas these guys have things that I personally do not like in shoes, and vice versa. So it's gonna be an interesting testing. So I'm gonna talk about these first. The bottom here is really interesting looking. It's got a really cool traction pattern. It's got that translucent kind of like milky look. And what I like about this is that I can see the tech through it, and that's something that is helpful to me, because the shoe itself came with these little tags to explain what the tech is. And those are awesome if I could read Chinese, but I can't. So while I can read like what the actual tech name is, I can't really like decipher anything else. But because the shoe has that translucent look to it on the bottom, I can actually decipher what everything is and where it is. So again, I hope that this actually works. The good news is that I got two pairs and two different rubber compounds, so if this one sucks, this one might be awesome. But that brings me to the cushion. This guy right here, I thought originally the premium aspect was just the kind of material change. After further inspection, it is a little bit more than that. It's more than just the materials. The premium aspect of the shoe also comes from the cushion itself. This guy right here has a dual cushion setup. So the first one is the cloud foam, and that's what you can see right here. It's the black section. You can not only see it on the top line there, but all throughout the midsole right here, and it also pokes through on the other side. So that top layer is their cloud foam. The cloud foam that I originally used way back in the day when they first brought it out was awful. The new cloud foam is a lot more forgiving. It's a lot more spongy. It's got a little bit more of a rubbery feel to it, which I dig. And then underneath that, the main component of the main midsole is what they're calling their light foam. So it's a lighter compound. I believe on the thing it said it was like some type of EVA. Literally, light foam and EVA were the only words in English. Everything else is Chinese characters, so I don't really know. All I know is that the look of it, it's got this cream look. It could just be the color, but the look of it looks like an ETBU to me. Like if you've seen like Anta's foam, I can't remember what they're calling it, A-Flash foam or something like that.
Oh, on the KT.
On the KT line, you know, Boost, Puma's got their own version of it, and just all of those different like ETBU compounds, they all have this like off-white natural look to them, and that's what this midsole looks like. It's a little bit more dense than the cloud foam, so I believe that's the stability layer, and then the top layer being the cloud foam is supposed to be the more cushioned feel. Another thing that they have on these guys that the regular version, I don't want to say cheaper, but the regular version does not have is this panel right here, and this is full on TPU. It wraps all the way underneath the arch area of the shoe, so it's a really big torsional plate, as well as a sidebar for like lateral movements. I do wish that that thing was on this shoe right here, but again, these guys, they have some features on them where I don't think that they're necessarily going to need it. Now the build on these guys is modern, and that's one of the things that I'm not like 100% down with, but at the same time it feels good, it fits well. Speaking of fit, they do fit true to size for anybody wondering, and they're not a pain in the ass to get into. The collar and the tongue area is super stretchy knit and all of that stuff, so I think that that's a good thing. But the rest of the knit area, it's got, again, this kind of like weird creamy off-white look to it, and it's got a lot of TPU within it. This one doesn't feel like super stiff in the toe box area, but the rand, it's got that like you can hear that. So it's got that like, I don't know, that I call it crispy. It's got that crispy feel to it. So it's got TPU in it. They probably heat welded those areas to strengthen them. And then the side panels right here, both on the medial and lateral side, very crispy. Like extra crispy, way more crispy than the toe cap area. Lots of TPU in there, so it's very rigid for being a knit, which makes the stretchy sections of the knit feel extremely stretchy. Then on this pair, there are some synthetic panels on the back section that are synthetic leathers, but they are very, very nice synthetic leather. And I actually really dig that. I like the way that it looks and I like the way that it feels. I wish there was a little bit more of it because everything on here is pretty much knit, but I do really dig that that section of the material is a little bit different, gives it some texture, gives it some depth. And then this thing right here, I know what it's there for, but it's just weird. This
it has a purpose?
Yeah, because it goes down into the footbed and then it's attached by these nylon things that are also attached to the footbed, so it's got to be a support cage.
It's so flexible though. I was playing with it and I was like, it's purely just a design because there's lace loops.
That's what I'm saying though, is like, I think the more force, I think it's just in case.
Okay.
Like you were saying, it's so like you can, like that's a lot of movement. At this point, you're already rolling your ankle. I think it's strange, but yes, very much an aesthetic piece over function. The rest of the shoe though, very functional. I'm very curious to see how these are gonna play. I don't know, something about them kind of reminds me of the KD11, the whole build and stuff. And I really didn't like that shoe. So I'm hoping that these are not like those. I hope that they kind of like learned from, I guess, Nike's mistake. But I just think it's a very interesting shoe and all that stuff. And it feels like way different than the Li-Ning stuff like the Ushuai 12. That shoe is very cheap. It's got fuse everything, basic textiles, basic mesh, foam, the whole upper of that shoe, super cheap. This guy right here doesn't feel like that. Now this version of the shoe right here is just called the Li-Ning Speed 6, so it's the basic version, and it's got a lot of the same features. So again, the traction and all that stuff, same exact stuff, but it's got solid rubber. I'm pretty sure that both versions are gonna have variations, so one will have, you know, different colorways with different materials and stuff like that. But this is the two that I have in hand. Thank you to Li-Ning, by the way. They actually sent these over, which was really cool and kind of like a surprise. I greatly appreciate it. Now these guys, like I was saying, they had the same exact traction and they're missing that giant TPU piece and stuff. So I think that's kind of weird. I wish that it was on here, but the upper and everything is a little bit stronger, I think, even though it's a little bit cheaper feeling than the other pair. And there is something right there. There's a little plastic piece. So I'm pretty sure there's a small torsional bar in there, and there really needs to be because this has a drop right there. So if you put too much pressure on there, it could buckle. So that's one of the main reasons to having a torsional plate in a shoe that is not flat. Now this pair right here does not have the dual foam setup. This is just light foam. So it's a little bit more on the dense side than the other pair. It is super lightweight, but it does not have the same kind of like softness or plushness underfoot. So I don't know which one will be better per se, or just which one I'll like more. I like the way that they both feel so far, but we'll see like if there's a huge difference between the two while playing in them. The upper is the main thing that's like really different. This is the thing that I like and dislike. The materials are a lot cheaper feeling than something like a knit, but I like the way that everything is. It's more of a jacquard style knits. It's a cheaper thing, but it's also very, very, very functional. And then the overlays are leather, but it's pleather. Both of them have synthetic leathers, but this guy is like super synthetic, whereas the other one really tried to recreate that feel and look of leather. This one clearly did not. I don't mind either one as long as the price is right and as long as it works and the leather is not like a main component or anything, so it's not a big deal. If anything, they have a lot more structure to this shoe. It's got a normal tongue. I really like that. I don't like the sock fit things usually because sometimes they just don't work out. And on top of that, this has a normal eye stay area, which the other ones don't. They rely heavily on flywire like strands and nylon cables. This one is very much more of a traditional setup, so I think that the fit, again, true to size for these as well, just in case anybody's wondering, but the fit on these guys just feels like I can kind of like mold it and make it into what I like versus the other one, which is a hopefully one size fits most scenario, which usually sucks. So that pretty much takes care of it for a quick detailed look and review slash breakdown on both of these. One thing I forgot to mention on these guys though, they're heavily sculpted and padded on the inside in the ankle area, which I love. I love how that feels. These guys, not so much, but again, they have the more traditional kind of like lace structure. So if I were to pick one of them, it would be this like setup of the upper, but I think I would want it on this tooling. So those are the things that I would change, but obviously they're clearly different for two different reasons. They are going to be available online. Like obviously if you're overseas in China, you already know where you can grab Li-Ning products. For US customers, you can actually grab them on Amazon now. So I think that's really cool because a lot of them are Prime capable, which is like super weird.
I love Prime.
Oh dude, I totally love Prime, but you can legit get your shoe in like 2 days. But sound off below, let us know what you guys think about these. We greatly appreciate everyone's support. And until next time, guys, have a good one.
So when we had posted the beauty shots they sent us on Instagram, there was a bunch of people who immediately were like, I can't help but see the Curry 6 To which I was like, what? And then you hit it like right on the nose when you were like, this reminds me of the KD11. And I was like, that's a better comparison.
Well, it's because this is the last thing. I can't see what they're talking about a little bit.
No, because I can see
no.
this with the curry.
Well, that's the whole shape of the thing, though. But if you look at the collar line right here, it's similar. It is. And then you take this panel and that panel, it's similar. And then you got this random thing, and then their lacing structure. It's minorly, like, it's comparable, but not like a straight up, like this does remind me more of the KD11 and stuff like that. And then when I put them on, it was like a straight up, like, yeah, I hope that these are not like the KD11. Clearly there are similarities here, I get it, and I will acknowledge that. But when I looked at this, the first thing I did not think of was the Curry 6. I didn't even think of the KD11 either. It wasn't until I put them on. You can always pick out something from one thing and point it to another thing, but you don't always have to. That's what people do instead of taking it for what it is. And that's the part where it makes everyone, because unfortunately it's a reflection upon the entire group that we are like into, and it just kind of makes all of us look stupid. It's like, oh yeah, our memory is so short that it's only the last thing we saw. And so it's one of those things where I don't feel like everything looks like or has to look like everything else. If it's a straight up, like, you can just, it's blatant, like the KT5. The KT5 looks really cool. Honestly, it looks like two different shoes though. And I don't even want to say that, but you have to, because Anta, for whatever reason, lately especially, has been knocking off. It's frustrating for me because I like Anta. I think that they're a good brand overall with products, but some of their stuff is like, what are you doing? Like, that's clearly from something else. That cover thing that's on the KT5, that's from the Ushuai 12.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're not only just a competitor trying to enter the US, but that's a signature shoe, and you're taking something from a direct competitor in China.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really stupid. And then on top of that, not all of the colorways have it. So the colorways that don't have this feature, I think they look a lot better because
like the yellow one?
Yeah, they don't look like, oh, you're trying to, but there's colorways that have this fake, it's not even netting, it's just a graphic.
A print.
Yeah, and they put it on the midsole, and I'm like, excuse me, that's Under Armour to hover. And so I'm like, so you're taking literally a panel from one shoe, putting it on yours, and then you're taking a visual aesthetic from another shoe and putting it on yours, to where it's like, come on guys, that was a dumb move right there, man. Like, I don't know, man, that's just. And so, like I said, it's those things that, like, it almost encourages, that looks like this. I have no response to that, because it's like, yeah, it does.
Thanks a lot, Anta.
Right? Like.